Hello, hello. Um, Welcome to my channel, the OMB frequency. Welcome to new people and people who have been watching. My name is Olivia. I'm a channeler, a tarot reader. I am a creative doula and a uncontrollable creator. And today I'm going to be doing a pick a card reading. It's my first pick a card reading. And so I'm excited. Um yeah, so there's pile 1, pile 2, there's going to be 3 piles. And so I'm going to start off with what I picked up before the reading, just with the 3 piles, and then I'm going to get into a sort of archetypal journey for October. And if you don't know what archetypes are sort of like the roles and situations and events and these sort of like overlays of human storytelling and human existence that even if given different names, we just kind of can't escape them in our human lives and our human stories and our human cultures. And so for example, like the mother, the father, the hero, um I'm blanking. Let's see. The flame, the dead end. So like even if they're given different names and different stories or different cultures, the essence of them we kind of see them throughout human storytelling. Um so yeah, that's an archetype, and the archetypal journey is I'm using the Wild Unknown archetype deck. And so this is a spread from the deck specifically, and it starts off, I'll have the on this journey, who you are on this journey. So who are you embodying on this journey? Then there will be a what is the setting for this journey? Where is the journey taking place? And then a with what kind of question to the journey, like what's the tool that you're using on this while on this journey. And then I'll have a why for the journey, so like a purpose for the journey. um so yeah, I'm gonna kind of not show the cards necessarily in like a um picture where you can pick the cards, but I'll display them and I'll go through each deck or each pile. And so as I go through the pile, just pick whatever resonates with you, in whatever way it might resonate for you. Maybe you're just curious about what one of the cards says, or you can't stop, like your body heavily reacts to one of the piles. I'm gonna read out, I picked 2 cards from the Crystal Mandala Oracle deck. Um, so yeah, let's get started. So for pile 1, we have number 3, Archangel Anael and Pink Calcite, Acceptance. And we have number 10, Angel is the and Carnelian, Nourishment. And so this is pile 1. I don't know if you can see both of them. But if you resonate with either of these cards, this is pile 1. Both of these cards are the crystal angels, like 444. It's the deck is split up in 333, 444, and 888. So this is part of the 444 group. But yeah, so that's pile 1. Pile 2 is Ascended Master White Matthew and Danbarite, Original Self. This is a Crystal Master 333. And I wish you could see these cards better, but the lighting is not great right now. And then we have 33. That was 30. Then we have 33, Ascended Master Helios and Citrine, Your Time to Shine. And so this is pile 2. And so if you are resonating with pile 2, go to pile 2. And then pile 3 is 32, Ascended Master Buddha and Peridot or Peridot, don't know. And it's Wild Compassion Crystal Master 333. And then 40 is Goddess Saraswati and Ammonite from Word to World. And this is Crystal Goddess 888. So this is pile 3. And so I guess I'll just hold them up to look at. And you can, if you do need to see it visually, all of them together, then here you go. We got pile 1, pile 2, and then pile 3. And in the description box or the comments, wherever I put it, there will be timestamps so you can just go straight to the pile. And yeah. So enjoy. And so I'll begin with pile 1. Pile 1. These are I'm going to go through your archetypal journey for October. And your cards this is for pile 1. Your cards were acceptance and nourishment. Angel Isda and Carnelian for nourishment, number 10. And number 3, Angel Enale and Pink Calcite for acceptance. What I picked up before, I haven't picked the archetypal cards yet. I'm going to do that on camera. So you haven't gotten there yet. So just like before, just picking these cards and like looking at things. So I got, of course, the numbers 444 because both of these cards are 444. Also got 888 and 867. 867. I don't know. Yeah. 867. I don't know where that came from or what it means, but if you look it up, if it means something to you, 867. And then with these cards, because as you can see, these cards were giving big vaginal energy. They're pink, with the pink and the warm colors, it was giving energy, vaginal energy, beauty, plumpness. It also gave me I could see these cards as it made me think of perfume, especially the acceptance card made me think of perfume and just beauty and heart chakra and the arms, specifically the arms as a space of safety and touch and warmth, nourishment, needing to nourish yourself and take care of yourself. And I also got the need to straighten your neck. And so it made me think of nourishing yourself and the acceptance. So this isn't like passive acceptance of like, oh, okay, this is what it is, but like, having power in the acceptance, having strength in the acceptance. The book specifically talked about fighting from the heart. So having acceptance as a form of like fighting from the heart. It also had me thinking about what you like, paying attention to what you take because of nourishment. Pay attention to what you take in and what you release, or yeah, paying attention to what you take in and what you put out, specifically what you take in as nourishment. Because I was like breathing as I started to pay attention to my breath, and like as I was breathing in, the like sort of like ambiance in the room, the like my hearing changed, and then when I would breathe out, my hearing would change again. So it was like yeah, paying attention to the whole taking in, and paying attention to what you're taking in, and like the frequency of it, and the sound, adjusting to the breath, and the breath also being like nourishment. Let's see. The song that I got for this pile was Find Your Way Back by Beyonce for the Lion King soundtrack song. Find Your Way Back. So I'll have that. I'll have the songs in the description box. You can listen to them. So I would just listen to the lyrics or the tune, and just yeah, whatever it makes you feel or think about. I also got the song by the Intruders. What's your I want to know your name. Specifically the part like, I want to know your name. What's your name, baby? I'd love you if I could. And this is making me think of like um just paying attention to what you how you nourish yourself, especially when it comes to like relationships. Because the fact that the song, it made me, I'm thinking about the fact that the song says, I want to know your name. What's your name, baby? And then they're called the Intruder. So paying attention to like who's in, and how you, all that nourishment that you take in, which makes me think of the song. I was thinking of the song Apple Tree by Erykah Badu, when she's like, I got some food in my bag, not that edible food, no, that food. I don't remember what she says, but like food for thought, food for the soul. Um, but yeah, so acceptance just basically talks about accepting where you are in order for you to be present in it. Like being on the path of less resistance. It's not that you're like necessarily in a situation where, it's not necessarily staying in a situation that you don't want to be in and just accepting that that's where you are, like deserve to be, or that's where, not even deserve it. It's just acceptance of this is where I am. And if you can accept and have some like truth and honesty about where you are in the present moment, and having that awareness in the present moment is then to like observing where you are. And if you can observe where you are in the present moment, then your mind can kind of like adjust the sound and the frequency to, if you're like sulking in where you are, you're you're kind of limited in what you can take in, the nourishment that you can get from the moment that you're in. But if you're able to accept where you are from a place of power, and look and observe and take in what's happening around you as like nourishment, food for thought, food for the soul, lessons to help you get to a next moment and see like the bigger picture. And this card also talked a lot about like trust. If you there was connections between pile 1 and pile 3 in terms of like um sound and vibrations and like what you take in. Um, and then for nourishment, I think I kind of already talked about it, but nourishment was talking about choice as part of your spiritual freedom. So choosing what you listen to, choosing what all the choice that you have, and like what you want to feed your body, your mind, your soul, your physical, like what you are eating, what you're listening to, all the it talks about the daily stream of imagery and ideas, and everything that has to do with media, sound, and images, and it's all very subconscious. And the people who promote media and know that. And so paying attention to when you take in anything, whether it's food, whether it's friendship, relationships, whether it's what people say around you, how people sort of like speak around you, whether it's the media that you watch, the songs that you listen to, whatever you're taking in your body, paying attention to how it feels in your body, like going into your body and coming out of your body if it's like food. But so yeah, paying attention to that feedback between what your body is, how your body is responding to something, and you always have the choice to cut something out. Um, and it's not necessarily about like a diet of like, oh, I'm not going to listen. It's not about not listening. Um, I think it's really not about not listening to something or not eating something, but saying yes more to what you do want to eat and what you do want to take in as nourishment. And once you just observe and have that acceptance to observe what you're doing and what you're taking in, you're able to notice how the feedback from your body, and know what nourishes you. I see a lot of like, it made me think of a lot of like people talking about the best diets for people and everything for different reasons, and it's really just about paying attention to what your body and how your body responds to certain things. But yeah, so that's what I got on that end. And now let's get these archetype cards. So I'm gonna, like I said in the beginning, if you like watched the beginning, um, I'll pick a who, which is like who to embody, the role that you're kind of playing, like who you are on this journey. This is for October, because I'm filming it in October, but it's really timeless. Like whenever you watch this, that's the kind of journey you might be moving into. It could be for, it could be for October. It could be for whenever you're watching this. It could also be for fall in general, because we just hit the fall equinox on this side of time. But yeah, so let's see. We've got, oh, okay. I like it. The crone, So the crone, I think one thing that's making me think about the crone is that the crone absolutely okay, so it makes it, I just went to the what's it called? Not the library, the museum. I just went to the museum, and there was this like African like piece that showed like it was a sculpture to like a woman in her power. It's like it represented a woman in her power. And it was like a woman in her power. She's elderly. She's a mother. Like she's given birth. She's had sex. She's elderly. And that's a woman in her power. She's like has wisdom. And so the crone is absolutely that energy. And as I was saying before, these cards were giving off pussy energy, vaginal energy, or just pink, Frank Ocean pink matter, or Janelle Monáe pink. It doesn't have to be just vaginas. I guess we all got pink matter. But it's that energy. It's whatever, like, knowing the creative power that you have. So whether it's a vagina or not, whether it's the pink of a, penis, testicles, it's this that creative power that kind of represents. And the crone is also someone who's gone through so much wisdom and so much it's very Venusian and Venus energy, and elder. I hear about like older women. The older someone gets, especially when we're thinking about women or femmes, the more selective they get, the more they're just not putting up with certain bullshit. The crone is often depicted as like this old woman in the forest who's just mean, and like, people don't see her as the best, but she's really just wise to a lot of the bullshit. I'm trying not to curse as much, but it is what it is right now. So the crone, and then also the setting is the desert. And so yeah, like I was saying, the crone is she's very selective. The crone is very selective about who they want to be around. What they'll take in to their space, and has no problem being in the midst of the desert. The desert is a place that, so I guess this is saying like if you're in the desert with acceptance and that observation, you're able to see all the nourishment that lives there. Because the desert card talks about being in a place where it seems to be desolate and like there's nothing out there. But when you get in the desert and you actually accept that you're in the desert and you pay attention to what's happening in the desert, you'll find that there's so much life in the desert. It's not a place of like death. There's a lot of life in the desert, and you have to pay attention to it and be keen-eyed to it. And the crone is someone who's very keen-eyed, has a keen eye for what nourishment is around them, because they have, through their like wisdom and commitment to the spiritual path and their understanding of their creative power, they know what can nourish them even in a desert. So like even if you're in a sort of like food desert, or in a sometimes if you're in a sort of desert, whether it's a food desert, so it's like if you don't have like necessarily the best food around you, or access to food, being in sort of like in a way knowing how to like be in that space and use your own like wisdom and just whatever type of like wisdom you might have. Specifically, the crone is very like spiritual wisdom in order to get to nourishment. So that could be, I'm noticing how this hand is like growing from the ground. It could be growing food. But yeah, just being very like, in some ways it could be being very accepting of the fact that, okay, I don't have access to this type of like food, but you can kind of make a vow to pay more attention to. It's making a vow and paying more attention to what all the other different ways you can nourish yourself, being around the right, like being around communities that nourish you, being around people that nourish you, being in conversation that nourishes you, listening to music that nourishes you, watching TV shows that nourishment can come, provide for sort of like opportunities for more avenues to nourishment. And so we've got the crone in the desert with the vow, acceptance and nourishment. And I think it's also making a vow to keep that acceptance and nourishment, because that is, hold on. I keep having these lyrics in my head. I need to look it up. I'd like to dedicate, she says, Erica Badu, an apple tree. I'd like to dedicate this to all my creative, righteous children. I have some food in my bag for you. Not that edible food, the food you eat, no. Perhaps some food for thought. Since knowledge is infinite, it has infinitely fell on me. So, yeah, hold on. So, yeah. So the crone is in the desert. The crone, the vow is, I guess, this dedication to all the creative, righteous children that she's talking about, like dedication to finding kind of like soul family or soul community that nourishes you, nourishing yourself with knowledge. And the knowledge can come infinitely from accepting where you are, and you can't get to new places unless you're like accepting of like exactly where you are and be able to find the nourishment and nourishment in that space. The last card was Anima Mundi, which is, I think, relevant to like that it has fell. She says, since knowledge is infinite, it has infinitely fell on me. So she says, see, I pick my friends like I pick my fruit. I don't walk around trying to be what I'm not. I don't waste my time trying to get what you got. So yeah, Erica Badu, Apple Tree, very relevant to this reading. And she's very much a kind of crone figure to a lot of people. As well as, Beyonce maybe too. I don't know. Maybe. Oh. So yeah, Beyonce, Find Your Way Back. I want to know your name. What's your name, baby? I'd love you if I could. So yeah, I think Yeah, the archetypal journey is with love, with acceptance for where you are in order to get, you know, nourish yourself, acceptance of where you are to find nourishment. The crone being someone who is like wise. It's usually older, but like just a sort of wisdom, connection to creativity, the arts, a creative and open mind, which takes observation and stillness in the desert to be able to see where the nourishment is coming from, with the vow and dedication to all the creative righteous children, to infinite knowledge. And Anima Mundi is kind of like, you know, that infinite knowledge, that like um, totality of knowledge that can come from being exactly where you are, even if you're in the desert. There is nourishment there, there's food there, there's life there. Um, so, yeah, thank you for tuning in, Pile One. I'm going to head on to Pile Two, but I hope that you got something good out of that. And I would check out Pile Three maybe, because those two seem a little connected. Honestly, all three of them are pretty cool from the beginning. I didn't pick the archetype cards, but yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna get my words together because it's gonna be difficult. I'm gonna go on over to Pile Two. Okay. I didn't write down when Pile One started, but it's fine. So Pile Two, if you picked Pile Two, thank you for joining me. Um, Pile Two had Ascended Master White Matthew Damberite, Original Self, and Ascended Master Helios and Citrine, Your Time to Shine. And immediately with these cards, I got this is going to be an archetypal journey for October. These are just the beginning cards that I picked. So, but immediately with this, you got the pure white of Original Self, and then the fiery, the like cool white and the fiery orange of Your Time to Shine. And of course, it made me think of like heat, cold and heat, and these like different extremes, going within and shining, the internal, the external, the coldness, the heat, the moon, the sun. Um, I got the so I got a few things. I'll just start. I got the song Distance by Emily King, which is giving me a message of like distance makes the heart grow fonder. So if you need to like dip out from some community, connect with your original self in order to come back shining brighter than ever. Um um because the Distance song by Emily King is just like, yeah, it's a song about like what did she say? There's one part. Distance makes the leaves on the trees fall, makes the hours in the day long, makes me want to clear my head, find a little cafe and write the words to a song. And I know that I'm still free to be anywhere that I want to be. Maybe get dressed, wear something real pretty that you ain't never seen. Even when I'm lonely, happy knowing that your love is never far. And so, yeah, it's like getting distance to connect with the original self, connect with yourself, you know, yeah, tap in. And then so that you can like shine bright, cuz people, it's not about the so I also got imagery of like this angel devil type of extreme polarity. So like the devil is an angel, and the devil is always going to look attractive. The devil is always going to look like appealing. Meanwhile, angels, they kind of, if you see like an actual picture of like biblically depicted angels, they look, if we were to see them, they would call it devilish. If you've seen the show Midnight Mass, the angels look like devils, like what we consider devils. So it's kind of taking this angel devil and seeing the polarity in it, which also makes me think about the light and the dark, and how the best way to shine bright is sort of going internally. And it's like there's cause and effect to vibe to energy. So if you're going internally and working internally, the light is going to, as you go deeper internally, the equal effect is going to happen on the light. So it's like going deeper internally makes the light shine brighter. But then if you're so focused on like making your light shine so much that you have no like, it's like focusing so much on the light sometimes and like trying to shine a light, you can get lost in the you can get so lost in the light that you don't know how like the depths of yourself kind of are lost to you, or not even lost, but like you know the shadow just kind of builds. It's like you see people who are so concerned with how they're being seen and how they're showing up and what they're projecting, and they're very concerned with how people who are very concerned with how they're seen and don't like necessarily connect with themselves can get lost in the light, so to speak. What else? The other song that I got a song, so yeah, balancing the extremes and the polarity, and not like ignoring it, because I got the song "Crybaby" by Megan Thee Stallion and the Baby, but like not so much the lyrics. If the lyrics resonate to any of you, then take that. But I wanted to like skip the baby's part. And like as I was thinking about how I wanted to skip over their part, it made me think like don't skip over the parts of yourself that don't skip over the parts of yourself that you might not like or don't want to shine, because the more it's like the more that you resist, the more that you resist the more that you resist displaying something, the more that you like sort of like try to repress something or not show it and try to like shove it off to the side, that's the thing that's going to shine the brightest. If you're trying to portray yourself as this super like cool low key person, it's like someone trying to show themselves as some cool low key person, but you look over at them and they look anxious and like they're doing the most to try to look cool. Meanwhile, like the internal process is going to show on the outside. So connecting with your original self to to, uh, to, to, shine. 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 To Whew. Yeah, and I also talked about the original self as someone like when you're not in that spotlight or in that community or with that group, the sort of like different levels and layers of your identity can fall away, and you can realize you might have outgrown this, or you don't want to act like this, or you don't want to do this, or you're not really identifying with whatever parts of your like community or the people that you're around, the judgments, the expectations, and connecting with your original self kind of like frees you from all the like external expectations that have been like um, laid on you. Um, and when you connect to your true self, that feels good enough to not really want to care about other people's opinions, because people will always have opinions and judgments. And then you can shine brighter because honestly, people, whether they like it or not, whether they'll admit it or not, people like weirdos and people like people who shine because they're not they're like connected to their self. And people who are connected to themselves, it's like people, it's like if you're so busy trying to be unique, you can come off very typical in a way. And these are also very polarity words. Like I'm not trying to like, yeah. But and then people who know how it seems like people who know how common they are, people who know how they are just like everyone else, and they like sit in that of like they're not trying to be, they know they're not special, like people who know they're not special and aren't trying to be special, they're just trying to be themselves. They usually come off really unique, whereas people who are trying really hard to be unique and be the trendsetter and be seen usually come off very typical and common. Yeah. What else? And then for your time to shine. Oh, this one talked about a lighthouse. This lighthouse metaphor, which is kind of what I was saying. The lighthouse, if you're someone who, so basically was saying the lighthouse is not concerned, in order for a lighthouse to do its job of helping people, of shining so that other people can kind of see a different side of a different angle of light, because it's not about like being the light, but you're just like a different angle of light that someone can see and be like, oh, I'm that's giving me a different light to who I might be as well, or what my path could possibly be, and just being a light to somebody. If you're doing that, you're being a lighthouse to some people or some community, or just being a lighthouse. um you can't be a lighthouse if you're a lighthouse going to if you're like trying to like go, if you're like a lighthouse that's looking for other light, you can't do the job of sitting in the darkness and illuminating. um For the lighthouse to be able to assist those in need, it must be present and luminous within the darkness. It can't be like, you cannot fulfill the spiritual task if you lift your lighthouse self off the rocks and go in search of a sunny day. So yeah, this is also like sitting with all the, I don't know, maybe it's also like the crybaby song, like the devil sitting in like, getting some distance from everything so that you can sit in the darkness and sit with um self, your original self, and sit with, because sitting with your original self is also sitting with the reality of all the expectations and all the things that have been put on you, and just really being like, I don't want to do that. And that can take some time, because it's like, not only do you have to realize that you don't want to do that, but you have to realize that it's okay that you don't want to do that. Like, there's nothing wrong with being that original self. 1 second. Okay. So, yeah. It also talks about when you go into the darkness, you'll realize how much assistance you sort of have. It talked about like spiritual assistance, like you'll get more deeply connected to spirit and to ancestors in the spirit world, and being a black sheep or lone wolf will serve you in the long run. Because this distance song is also making me think like going into yourself, getting into the darkness. When it is time to shine, it's like while you're shining, you'll know that the closer you get to your original self as you're out there shining, you'll know that your original self is like really close to you, so you don't have to like feel like you abandon it or anything. Another thing that was weird, another thing that happened was another song that I got was Let Go by Aaron May. And it was interesting because on Let Go by Aaron May, and the songs will be in the description box for you to like look at and listen to. But so the Rap Genius lyrics where I push, this is explicit. So it's like, you niggas be bitches, you bitches be hoes, you switching up more than you switch your clothes. I push that work till I get it in gold, and light up the heat with the knife, you too cold. So, but the Spotify lyrics was, I push that white till I get it in gold, and light up the heat with the knife, you too cold. So, yeah, however that resonates with you. I just thought it was interesting because we got the white and the gold, and it talked about white and gold, but then those are just the Spotify lyrics. And then lighting up the heat with the knife, you too cold. So like, yeah, being a light and being like cold. Yeah, so like, not, you get it, not switching up and all that stuff. You get it. You get it. So let's get into the archetype cards. So the archetypal journey will start with, who are you supposed to like? Who are you like embodying on this journey? Like the role, the archetypal role, the who of the story. This can be timeless. So whenever you're watching it, I'm doing it for October as well. And it could also be for just the fall, because I'm doing it in the fall equinox. So just whenever you see it, even if you're seeing it like on some way other side of town or time, in like 5 years from now or something. Just whenever you see it, it's archetypal, so it's archetypal. Archetypes have been around for time, so it's timeless. The who of the story is the shapeshifter. The shapeshifter is who to be, which is which is what I was kind of okay. So one, if you look at the card of the shapeshifter, there's like these different one, it's snake skin, so it's like shedding the skin of like expectations and shedding the skin of people's expectations and judgments and opinions. So there's that part of it. There's also seeing it as like I was seeing before, of like little panels of light, little like angles of light. And so just being like a little angle of light that someone can see. But then it's also recognizing that that little angle of light is also like, you play all roles in this, again with the devil and the angel and the polarities. You play all roles in this, so simultaneously you can be something to shine that reminds someone of like you can be a light that shined that people like take on and like, you know, it empowers them on their journey. You can also have been a light that someone shined that they have to now shed. So as the shifts happen to like getting distance from people and shape shifting and changing and letting go of their original self, that could also be like shedding people in your life. If you get in distance and then come back and realize that's not really like where you want to be. C'est la vie. The shapeshifter is also, there's a way that like when you are connected to your original self, when you're connected to the core of yourself, your original self, there's a way that you can in some ways like shapeshift. And I feel like this is like very much Gemini energy too. Like if you can understand the polarities to yourself and you're connected to the core, then you can kind of like bounce around in a way because you're connected to the core. Shapeshifter in the castle. And the castle is about I want to see the card, but maybe I'll look at the card. But I know the castle is like a very empty space. It's very big. If you think of a castle, it's usually big. It's you know, I just imagine like walking in the acoustics of it. It's like echoey. So it has a sort of emptiness to it. But it also is a place of extreme like wealth and a place to shine. The castle warns against, I think this is like when you're in, so let's imagine the US as like the castle. It's the place where you go to shine. You know, there's Hollywood and everyone wants to be cool and like Kardashian and, you know, trendsetter, and, you know, everyone wants to shine. And the castle is kind of just saying, while you're in that space, being the shapeshifter in the castle, you have to be connected to your original self. Imagine like going to Hollywood and trying to make it, and you're dealing with all this shine. You have to be, you know, it's not for the faint of heart to be around the shine, to be around, you know, you want to be fully planted in your lighthouse self in order to go into the castle and keep yourself. What just popped out of this deck, of this one, was the nectar. which you see the black and white again of the polarities. The tool is the nectar. And the nectar, really think this, I'm not really going to read the cards from the deck, but what I remember from the nectar is that the nectar is the sweetness that kind of draws people in. So if you think, so you can think lighthouse, but you could also think of like this beautiful flower that has this nectar that calls in the bees, or calls in, it's very much like calls in, like a beautiful flower, like a Venus flytrap or something, a beautiful flower that calls in because it's so beautiful and it smells so good, and then it shifts, like its shape shifts and like pulls you in, kills you. I don't know. There's a flower on here though, so it's like it just draws you in, and you want to it shines bright. It's another thing about flowers, and like thinking about the flower and the shapeshifter and the original self and needing to like get distance, is that they die. Flowers wilt, and they're literally a symbol of like mortality. And there's flowers in the castle too. Um, and then the purpose of this journey. So we have who, the shapeshifter, where in the castle, with what, the nectar. And so it's this shapeshifter is a shapeshifter because they know who they are. So it's this being able to shift shape because you're grounded in your core, being in this place where it's shining, you're grounded in your original self, being able to be in this place, in this castle where you're grounded in yourself, not overtaken by the beauty of the castle, and the materialism of the castle, but able to shine, and knowing what your nectar is. Like the tool of the nectar is like knowing what your nectar is, what kind of draws people into you, what like um I'm also thinking about that Megan Thee Stallion, when she's talking about he's crying, and that's probably why her shit's so wet, because he's crying on the pussy. And then I see the castle. He's like the eye on the flower, and then this hand on the flower. But anyway, yeah, so the nectar is like what draws people in, and what makes you shine, I guess. And the purpose is for Eros. And Eros is just a sort of like greater sense of love for everything. Because if you are tied to and connected to your original self, and able to like shapeshift, a shapeshifter is someone who understands the different angles and the different polarities, and so you can have this sort of greater love for, you can be with your original self and love the aspect of yourself that just wants to be alone, the people who just want to be alone, the people who just want to kind of not be in the limelight or not be seen, or the people who are tapped into the original self, like, or being tapped in the part of yourself that is sacred to you in some way, the part of your parts, the core of yourself that you're grounded to. And you can also have love for the shine, and so Eros, the purpose of this is for this like greater love for self, that is then, like I was saying, if you love the depth of yourself, that is going to shine outward. And and it's just a way of like, it's like a reflection. The more that you deeply love yourself, the more people are gonna notice that, and they're going, that can be a nectar to pull people in. Like, you love yourself so hard that on one hand it can be projected, and people can want to be around you because they kind of take on the energy of like loving themselves, just because of how much you love yourself, and how much you love yourself makes you be able to love them so much. And so that's kind of like the nectar as well, but it's this greater love. Eros is just this like greater love and compassion and desire for life and for yourself, and for the nectar of life. And the castle is just this like very beautifully decorated space that can also just be like an internal castle, like you are the castle. So yeah, that is what I have for group 2. And I'm gonna get on over to group 3, but thanks for joining me. Group 2. Okay, group 3. So group 3, if you chose group 3, then you chose Ascended Master Buddha and Peridot, which is Wild Compassion, and Goddess Saraswati and Ammonite from Word to World. So if you chose group 3, then that's what you chose. That is the reading that I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with looking at the crystal mandala cards and what I picked up before the reading, and then we'll get into the archetypal journey. So for group 3, one, with these cards, I definitely got like geometrical structure. We've got the shell. The shell, which is a geometrical structure also. I don't know what it's called, but you know, like if you need to see I don't know what it even is called, but it's like you see different paintings and they'll have the like shell type circle on it to show the framing of the perspective of the painting or picture or whatever, and it's like a classical or whatever. I don't know, but if you know what I'm talking about, then that's what this reminded me of, the shell. And then also the just kind of like geometrical, sacred geometry, the symmetry. The shell was also like a shell that made me think of a shell that you like listen through. You listen through to hear like the ocean, or also a shell that you kind of like blow to hear sound. So lots of sound energy. This card and the colors of the cards made me think of the heart chakra. It's like heart chakra to the upper chakra. So the heart, the throat, and the third eye, and the crown. But specifically the heart and the throat came in a lot. This made me think of, so I went to the museum the other day, and the one thing that really drew me in was this like I don't know if you can see it, but this statue of water moon Guanyin. And I just couldn't stop. I had to sit in front of her and just look at her and just look at this. There was so much energy on this sculpture, and I just loved her face. And I read the little description, and it said her slight smile invites the confidence of the faithful, while her downcast eyes survey the emptiness of existence. And I just love that, especially you can't really see her face. But I just loved it because it was like, as I was reading it And as I was looking at her, I had to like have that slight smile on my face as well, because it was like she just knew something, you know. So yeah, if that resonates in some way, I'll come back to it later. But this pile was a lot about watching your words and your thoughts, keeping it compassionate, and contemplating on the fact that there is no good or bad, and like really contemplating there is no good or bad. One of the songs I got, I don't know the lyrics and I couldn't really understand a lot of it, or none of it really like stood out necessarily. But the name of the song is I Don't Know, and it's by a group called Born Free. Um, and that will be in the description box, the music. But I Don't Know by Born Free, and that's sort of like a freedom that comes with, there's a freedom that comes with not knowing, being born into freedom because you don't know shit. And then, you know, assuming good or bad insinuates that you know something that is ultimate, you know, like this thing is bad. And it is like a much, again, these are like the higher chakras. So this isn't the lower chakras type of like vibe. So on the higher chakras, it is a kind of understanding of like a greater perspective. This is a larger perspective than just our human perspective of this is good and this is bad. You can get a sort of like freedom from not knowing. And if you don't know, then you don't know something's good, you don't know something's bad. It just is what it is. And I think that also tied in with like her slight smile invites the confidence of the faithful. The confidence of the faith. Her smirk was giving that energy of just like the confidence of the faithful is the confidence of someone who goes through life and they don't know. They don't know what's good. They don't know what's bad. They just know that what they've been through, and they just know they're faithful in their walk. They're confident in their faithful walk. And surveying the emptiness of existence is like she doesn't know. She doesn't know, but she's gonna get through her journey, because it said that she attained enlightenment with the Buddha guidance of the Buddha Amitabha, but rather than enter the blissful state of nirvana, she chose to remain in the world to relieve the suffering of all creatures. So a lot of like Buddhist understanding of suffering is that the only way to relieve yourself of suffering is to get into the higher chakras of I don't know. This higher perspective of I don't know. And I can find freedom in the fact that I don't know, because it puts me right here, right now on the crown chakra. I can see what I need to see and say what I need to say and create what I need to create, co-create with, have compassion, the wild compassion that comes with not knowing good or bad is that you can look at someone and say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what your path is. I don't know exactly what you need to be going through. And I like that I don't know, because I'm not, I'm not God. I don't want to, you don't want to have that kind of control to even be able to say, you're doing wrong, you're doing bad, this is good, this is bad. You don't know. I don't know. It is what it is. And so contemplating the compassion and the freedom that can come out of this like idea of there's no good and there's no bad. It just is what it is. There's creation. And from word to world is that like higher, from the intentions to the word to the vision that creates the present moment, the perspective of the present moment, and this internal moment that we're in. And so it's just not, I don't know. The song that I got was it was, it'll be in the description box. It'll be in the description box so you can listen to it. But it's Avenue by Earth Gang. I love Earth Gang. So some of the lyrics, I've been cashing in, cutting checks and cutting edge, cutting lines into my head. It's OD. God bless ODB. If I see him in my sleep, I'm going to bow and wash his feet. You showed me how to do the deeds. I lay backwoods into reeds. I lay backwoods into reeds, keep my head up like Maurice, I'm floating. Step before the people and greet them how I greet you. And you make sure my gifts keep flowing. Cut the price and eat the difference. Fake persona if it gets you what you wanna. Get behind the fattest donk or have these women's on your trunk or have your ego high as chimpanzee in space, out of orbit, out of place. You put life on the line. You put lives on the line. Shoestring ties on the line. What you like, I provide. So yeah, I don't know the vibe I get from this song. It also says, no food, split my last with you, no rules. I got wants, I got needs, I got PTSD. I got suicidal thoughts and Nietzsche Nash fantasies, know the pleasures of the flesh before I finish learning me. So it just was, I love Earth Gang because they are very, like a lot of like hip hop, especially like Southern hip hop. It's just like, this is what it is. This is what I'm coming from. You have some compassion for it. And you keep it moving because you don't know why you went through certain things you went through, and you don't know why other people are going through what they're going through, and you don't have to. So yeah, this gave me big themes of like compassion and gratitude, and especially gifts in the voice, the creative power of an open throat chakra and claiming divine voice, experiences of fear being motivational push, and asking to learn and joy. So yeah, it sucks to say that like the pain that we go through, the experiences that we grow through that are hard, or like the push through, and like that suffering is, part of the deal. But it really is like, it is a matter of like, and the whole like idea of like Buddhist thought is that suffering, the Buddha only alleviated their suffering by changing their perspective and mentality. So it's not like necessarily like you put yourself in different, it's not necessarily that you completely transform to a new space. It's like the mentality of suffering, the space of suffering, the perspective of suffering is carried inside you no matter where you're going. And so in order to alleviate that space is to to change the mentality. And so you can be, there's like big throat chakra creative energy using sound and vibrations. So as I was talking about like the shell making noise or listening to it, it's like you are the sound and vibrations, you are the instrument, and to making sure that you're tuned into what your like intentional sound is, which also might be relevant to look at pile one, because it talked a lot about like paying attention to what you're taking in for nourishment. And so if you are, what you're taking in and putting out. And so if you are sound and vibration, and you are the instrument that is putting out creative energy, what are you tuned into? If you're tuned into judgment and this is good and this is bad, there's always going to be a good and bad, and you can get real caught up in that. and the suffering, the sort of like suffering in that. And you know, it's not necessarily about saying that like certain things aren't harmful, less helpful, not supportive, not compassionate, not inclusive, but the good and bad sort of erases all the like potential for creative change. If you're just like, that's bad and that's good, versus like, that's not helpful, well, how can we make it less helpful? Not like, that's bad, well, how do we make it good, you know? uh um The best way to respond to wild compassion is to allow yourself to be wild too. That means not being afraid to let go of the script of your life, to think on your feet, or even better, to let your instincts move your feet and not think so much at all, to let yourself intuitively respond to life as though you were in a dance together rather than a boxing match. You don't have to duck and weave to avoid what life sends your way. You can play, engage, be curious, sometimes feel pain, but always understand that the pain, because sometimes pain is an avoidable part of your life, is part of the healing the divine is sending your way. And if that makes you upset to hear that, then I guess that's just where you're tuned, I guess. And that's not good or bad. It just is what it is. I don't know. It doesn't sound great, but I think the thing about it is that it literally is what it is, especially in moments. That's the thing with like theodicy and the theology of suffering, is that if you're in a situation where you feel constricted and you can't change it, it literally is what it is. You are there and that's where you are, and the only thing you can change is your perspective on it. And so why not? And so we can have like many conversations about why that's, we can say that like, oh, this thing is bad. Maybe. Yeah. But it is what it is. Like the existence of it is not going to change. There's not going to be a utopia. And so I think that just like getting out of these binaries, just like open ourselves to more constructive conversation about what is happening. And that could be the same thing for like in your life. The creative energy can flow when you literally are like, this is where I am, and play and engage with it. And when you can look at your own situation that way, it makes you look at other people's situations and see and have a similar like compassion. It says if you want. So this card from Word to World talks about like again changing your frequency. Um, the easiest way to change your frequency is to consciously choose your words. Be curious and open, willing to grow so the situation can evolve into something far more enjoyable. Use your voice, speak your truth and your desires, speak of what you wish to experience. And when you catch yourself thinking or speaking in a voice other than love, be kind and change it. Your words have power. Use them wisely. Express how you feel when hearing, if someone's speaking negativity to you, express how you feel when hearing it, or choose to step back, or both. So, yeah, let's get into these archetypal journey. The archetypal journey, I'm going to go through who you are in the journey, who you can embody in the journey. This journey is timeless, so it can be, I'm filming this in October, or no, in the end of September for October. It can be timeless though. I'm also filming it like the second day of the fall equinox, so it could be for fall. But then it also, if you're watching this like 5 years down the road or 5 years in the past, then take it wherever. It's archetypal, so it's timeless, like archetypes. So I'll begin with the who are you to embody on this archetypal journey. Then get into the setting of the archetypal journey. Where is the journey taking place? Then get into the with what tool are you to use or to put down on this journey. And then the why of the journey is just going into like the purpose of the journey. So let us begin with the destroyer. The destroyer, which is immediately making me think of words destroy silence. And so if there's a space where made me think of the part where it's talking about someone speaking negativity to you, just speaking how you feel, putting words to silence destroys the silence. Speaking positivity, like if there's like negativity or like and negativity again is not bad, it's just negative on the polarity. There's positive and negative. So if there's just something being spoken that I'm seeing, this destruction energy is just like the wild compassion. If you're moving in wild compassion and people come with like intense judgments or fear or these sort of like more fear-based spaces, the destroyer knows and practices or like knows that they are a co-creating instrument in the space. And so if some sound is being put out, they can kind of destroy or disrupt the space with another frequency. That's what I'm thinking about right now. And so in being a destroyer and destroying one like sort of like frequency of the space, it's sort of being a co-creator with someone and doing that compassionately. It's like a jam session. Someone speaks something and you speak something, and you could completely destroy like whatever like fear-based thing was happening with them, or even if it doesn't affect them within yourself, that alone just destroys this idea that what you say doesn't also affect you and change your being. The setting is the village. So again, this is about community. And this song by Avenue talks a lot about like where they came from as children. He says, still I'm snapping together my daddy's pieces, still figuring out my mama's secrets. Your value and your honor, but your worth come from deceit. Nigga that you hate knowing probably got something he could teach your corny ass. So yeah, the village, all of the accumulation of history and story that happens in the village where you are in this space that made you, and you then get, as you get older and you go, so like the root chakra is the village, the tribe. The sacral chakra is where you realize I'm in relationship to these people. The solar plexus is saying, but I'm also on this path. The heart chakra is where you can come back. It's sort of like coming the village card talks about, like, there's a moment when you leave the village and a moment when you come back to the village. So if the solar plexus is sort of when you kind of prepare to leave the village, you realize you have like a personal story, and then the heart and up chakras is like coming back into the village and being able to say, oh, this is the place that made me, and now I get to come back with compassion and sort of like co-create in the space that made me, and use my intentions, my heart, compassion for where I came from, and these people that I came from, in this space that shaped me. And I get to have that compassion with the heart chakra. Then I get to speak and emit a vibration, emit a sort of like put my hands in the melting pot of the space, and sort of be a collaborating creator in this space. And yeah, so the tool is the vessel. And again, like I was saying, you are the instrument. And so it's like imagine the village as like a big band, all these different instruments playing in this big band, and you come in to add your little, sound in the noise. And I imagine like having wild compassion would be like, you don't want to completely just go in and disrupt this space. So like you come in with something that's just like, I don't know, but maybe you come in as the destroyer, and you come in with a completely different sound that destroys the whole trajectory of where it was going, and it becomes jazz. Let's improv, and people have to pick it up and are now influenced to like, either some people keep the same rhythm, some people do something different, and now you're creating jazz in your community. And the purpose is Eros. So that wild compassion is that like, um, the sort of like larger divine love. So having wild compassion from word to the world, yeah, being that instrument that disrupts and destroys, whether it's disrupting and destroying, like whether that's an internal process where the village is the setting, and you're leaving the village, and so it's like destroying whatever parts of the village that you no longer want to have in your vessel. Your tool for doing all of this is your vessel, so you are the sort of vessel that is being used as an instrument for destruction. This is like some very much like big creative energy. Um, and that is like, if you are contemplating no good and bad, and you're just showing up and showing people compassion, people don't like that. You will be a destroyer. You will completely destroy people's ideas of what they think they need to think or feel towards certain things, and they don't like that. People really like their judgments. People really like their stories that they've been telling. People really like to maintain the status quo and the commonalities, and the status quo in the village. That's what the village is. It's the status quo. The village is where you were built and bred, and there's this need to go off and do your own thing and leave the village and then come back to sort of shape the village. And if you're doing that compassionately, like people didn't like Jesus. Like people don't like the Buddha. We talk about them nice now, but nobody liked them. They weren't loved in their village. They were destroyers to the status quo. Nobody liked that. So that's what I have. Pile 3. Thank you for tuning in. This is my first pick a card, so I'm excited. But yeah, thanks for joining me, everyone.